This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today bootstrapped her way to the top while being a single mom. As a self-proclaimed mompreneur, she mentors women in New York City and across the globe. She's been featured in Forbes, NBC, Fox, ABC, CBS, and more. She is an inspiring leader and the founder of ZavoMedia PR Group. Please welcome Liana Zavo. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me here. Such an honor to be here.
You're so very welcome. We got to connect via Zoom prior to this, so it was really nice because I got to see your office. I don't always get to see my guests' studio and office, and I felt like this very posh feeling about it, this very like trendy feeling. And then I'm sure our guests will be able to see you on Instagram and on Facebook and in all the social media. And you come in, and I turned to Sharon, I said, she is très chic. You're very chic. Love the hat, love the outfit, and I think that this look that you have in the office and the way that you bring and carry yourself is how your team and how the people that you work with, it embodies the work that you do for them.
It absolutely does. It's so important, right? You get 15 minutes of showing who you are. Like your first impression is the last impression. So make sure you show up the best.
Yeah, I love that because so many people think, it's not about, the old saying of don't judge a book by its cover. And while that's true, the first thing that you see on the shelf is the cover. And so in order for you to want to pick up the book, the cover has to be appealing. And I think you do a great job of that. I think, when I was researching you and looking you up online and everything, all the pictures, so glamorous, so cool. And the reason why I'm highlighting this right now is because of the work that you do. You're a PR, you own a PR company. And so it's important that people understand that this is what it's all about, right? So it's so cool when you came in, I'm like, you got your photographer here. You look so awesome. I'm like, man, this is awesome. High level today. I love it.
Thank you. Yes.
As I mentioned to you, we go into your story here, and you have such an inspiring story that I read about. What I'm so interested in is how you overcame some of the difficulties that you did. And this is so important for our listeners, our entrepreneurs that are on the other side here, our business leaders, our executives that are out there who go through and face challenges that are unique to them, but some that are very similar. You're an immigrant here. You came when you were very young. We're going to talk about that. I said single mom, so you raised your child on your own. I didn't even get to go to your college life and how that experience shaped you, and then moving into opening up your own business, the American dream. So let's start with your childhood and where you came from.
First off, you just gave me goosebumps.
Oh my goodness, that's so great.
It's just, it's not like I love talking about myself, but I love when people recognize, to what point I got in my life. And so getting to that point, making sure that I starting my life in the States here as a young mom and understanding that life will throw so many curveballs at you and teaching my son that, I think that shaped me into a better person than I am today.
So, first of all, how could I not appreciate everything you just went through? To give a little context to you of my appreciation for that. My mother also came here at a very young age. She came from Haiti with her sister. They left Haiti, and the country was at the time in a really bad state, which it is now. But at the time, it was more of a government issue, and came here at a young age. And she and her sister pretty much had to take care of themselves on their own when they came to New York, and until the rest of the family came over. So I heard those stories, and so that's why there's such an appreciation there for understanding of leaving a place that you're comfortable in, that you know, that everybody knows you, that you're respected in, and then literally starting from scratch all over again, and without any of the the support system around you that you may have had in your homeland. So let's talk about that a little bit. Where did you come from? Can you share with our guests where you came, with our listeners, where you came from and how you got here?
Yeah, so I was born in Tajikistan, Dushanbe, in 1987, and it was part of the USSR. But then in 91, the whole USSR broke apart into many different pieces and parts. So the Civil War broke out, and we fled as refugees from there to Austria, Vienna. And in Austria, my father settled there not just for a month or two, but we settled there for 5 years. So my father is a restaurateur, and he has been in hospitality since I can remember. His first restaurant actually was built in 1987. So he always tells me the year you were born actually gave me so much more meaning. And so in Russia, he had 2 restaurants, and then in Austria, he had another 2 restaurants. So he's just a well-rounded entrepreneur, and I look up to him. And then when I was 9 years old, I came to the States, went to middle school here and high school, and then decided to get married at 18 while attending college. And that didn't go well. That, shaped me into a woman that I am today, and dropped out of college. I was pursuing speech pathology, but that is not something I wanted to do from the beginning. From the beginning, I wanted to pursue what my grandmother used to do from my mom's side. She was a journalist, traveling the world, going to Moscow, She loved what she did, and I aspired to be like her, combining the entrepreneurial spirit of my father. I didn't want to end up being in the restaurant business, even though here in the States, he went so big, right? And he always tells me, come work with me, you'll be the head of this. I said, Dad, I need to leave a legacy, just like you're leaving a legacy after yourself. I want to leave a legacy. I want to have a mark in this world, not that I have a dad who supports me. I know it will be tough, and let it be tough, right? So I know the struggles shape you. And I am so, so glad that I took that route, right? I remember reading a poem back in high school about Robert Frost wrote, right? You take the road that's less taken, right? And so there are 2 roads, and which one would you take? What everyone goes and you follow that trend, or would you go the one that's less taken? So I decided to take the road less taken, right? Became a CEO and founder of my own company.
Why did you choose to take the road less taken? Because as you just said, all of that, there was an easier route, right? So what was appealing about the challenge for you?
I guess it's something you're born with, that drive, that passion, that fire inside of me, that I just want to inspire and amplify voices. I, wanted to always be that strong woman. I always saw myself as that hero, right? Helping others. Like, I wish I had mentors along the way that would help me. My father always worked. My mom was a gynecologist. And so even though my parents, come from great backgrounds and graduated college, right? And they met in college. And I'm like the total opposite. Like, went to college, dropped out. I'm like, this is not for me. Even though I graduated high school with who's who among top high school students, right? That you have that book where you're like with all the other students, like who's who. And I graduated with like top 8 honor roll. I had all the AP classes I took. I mean, I was a smart cookie, right? Yeah. I loved it. But I wanted to pursue journalism. I wanted to pursue PR, communications. And my mom was not for it. She's like, you know what? That is not something you should be doing. Your grandmother did it. But I don't think you should be doing that. I think you should, pick a path that's more secure. Do a 9 to 5. And I couldn't really fight with her. I did. I tried. But, when your parents don't support you, and obviously I couldn't pay for my own college that time, and they were supporting me and helping me, what can you do, right? So I wish they would let me be me and pursue what I wanted. And even if I make mistakes, who cares, right? Those are my mistakes. I wanted to learn from my own mistakes. But no, I had to learn from, I had to follow the trend, which I hated. And then so when I got married, when I had my son, I said, okay, I'm putting my foot down. I'm going to put my foot down. This is not the way I want to lead my life. And so I got into styling afterwards, actually. I didn't go and pursue PR right away, but that would be Yeah, that's a whole different story. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah. I'm understanding now about the road less traveled for you, in that it sounds, and there's so many of us experience this. I experienced this myself, where there's expectations of what we're supposed to do, and for so long in our early life, because of our parents, because of our support system, and not wanting to lose that support system, we go down that path, while the whole time we know it's not who we want to be. And so it becomes the road less traveled, because our families or our support system is trying to protect us. And in that protection, they're actually limiting us. And so I think that's what you experience. I experienced the same. I went the corporate route, always knowing that I always wanted to do my own thing. And it took me, a long time.
Yeah.
You did it a lot younger, thankfully for you, to figure out that I want to do my own thing. But I think there's so much learning in that. And there's so many people on the other end here that are going through school, that are following in their parents' footsteps, and that are scared to tell them any different. And I'm interested in your father's story as well, because so many of them say, well, my father or my parents are great successes, and I have to follow in their footstep. Otherwise, I'm going to lose their funding, their support, their financial support, their love, whatever it is, right? But I think what we discover is that when we show our parents the road less traveled, that we want to go down that road, and what you just explained here, eventually they come around. Eventually they start seeing and understanding what we need, and they start letting go of that protection and just providing the support that we need. But it's up to us to tell them that. And it's scary to lose that support, that financial support, that I don't think you ever lose their love, but for the moment to feel that way, that you're losing it, it's scary. But when you make that choice, it's incredible. So let's just go back for a second here. I'm very curious about where you moved to first in New York, because, I'm from Queens. So okay. I'm very curious about that. But I am interested also in your father, because you said he was, and I don't want to forget about your grandmother either, by the way, with the journalism. But he was an entrepreneur from the beginning. So this is going back into the USSR, or I would butcher the name of the country you're from. So please repeat it when you do.
Tajikistan?
Tajikistan.
It's one of the stands. Yeah.
So he was an entrepreneur there. What was his upbringing like? How did he become an entrepreneur? What was his parents like?
Yeah, so my grandfather was a barber, and he owned a barbershop. And my grandmother was a teacher and a housewife. And so he was a barber, my father, starting when he was 13 years old. So he was in his father's shop. And, so were my aunts. They were also in my grandfather's shop. And, my father did that, and he didn't want to pursue that. So he kind of dabbled into so many different things, right? He did jewelry for a little bit. He wasn't afraid to fail. He dabbled. He wanted to find himself. And that's what I have after him. I am not afraid to fail, because I know that if I'm not failing, I haven't made my decision, right? I'm not making enough decisions in life. That's what I say. And he would always ask us at dinner table, so what did you guys fail at today? And you would think it's such a negative thing to fail at something. And a lot of my siblings would just stay mute, kind of like, I didn't fail at anything. Like, kind of show them like, oh, I did. I'm like, I tried this and I failed. He's like, bravo. Good for you. Do it again. Because if you don't fail, you're not learning. You don't even have a sense. You didn't get a taste of what's out there. Don't be in that comfort zone. Get out of it. Stop being cooped up. And so I have that personality. And so I'm so eager to learn everything around me. Even if I fail, it's such an honor to fail at something, because I can say, I've tried it. I've learned, And so, yeah, he definitely supported me. And there were times that he didn't support me. He still doesn't even know much about what I do. He's like, PR. What do you do in PR? What does that even entail? How do you even make your money? I don't even say how you even run your company. He's like, it's not even tangible. I'm like, Dad, I can work from anywhere in the world. I just need a computer. Right. That's all I need. He's a man of he likes to, it's more about cooking for him, right, and serving and hospitality is tangible, right? Yeah. And so when he understands the concept of how I created my company, that I can work from anywhere in the world, he's baffled by that idea.
Right. What was your earliest failure that you shared with him, and what was his response like to it?
Yes.
Do you remember?
So I loved ice skating. Right. So he got me my first pair of skates. And so I said, Dad, I tried ice skating and I failed. I couldn't make that, those circles around the ice and pick up my leg. I mean, I really tried hard to become like a professional figure skater. Because,
Right.
like Russia, it's like you have to be either like in ballet or figure skater, something, right? And so he says, great, you fell. How many times did you fall? I'm like, I fell a lot of times. I can't even walk. He said, great, fall again, and I'm sure you'll be great. And now, I mean, back then, I became so good. I started dancing on ice. I love dancing, And so at that moment in my life, I remember when he bought me my first skates and even my rollerblades. He's like, if you want to do it, you gotta fall. And he would always compare it to like a baby. Like, how many times does a baby fall, right? Does it even understand that he's falling and getting up? You gotta do the same thing.
That's so cool. It's funny. I'm a skier, so in skiing, and I've been skiing since I was like 4 years old, and I was on a ski team at Marist and everything. It's a club sport at Marist, but it's still a ski team. But I'd have younger cousins who would feel very proud to say to me, "Hey, I skied today and I didn't fall once." And I would always say the same that your father said, is that, well, that doesn't tell me that you're a great skier. It just, I didn't say this to them because I'm very much more compassionate to them. They were young kids, but I said, you got to fall. I didn't say to them that, by not falling, you're not trying hard enough or you're not experimenting with pain or taking risks kind of thing, which on the ski mountain could be very dangerous. So I didn't say that to them. But what I was saying to them was that it's okay if you do fall. I fall. It's okay if you fall when you ski or when you ice skate, because in that there's learning. And it's also because of what you've said earlier, is that you've taken a risk. And it's the same with business. It's the same in life. It's the same with love. It's the same with raising children. It's like that friction that we have with our partners, with our children, with our coworkers, our employees, and everybody, that friction in business is really because we're trying something different. We're trying something new. We're trying something that's challenging, and it's hard for everyone to adapt to. But that's a good thing, because if we can collaborate on it, if we can open our minds, we can actually move forward and do great things. So I love that you bring that idea up of your father saying that. And I think it's so cool to sit around the table and say, what'd you fail at today? That's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat one. And so tell me about your grandmother. Tell us about your grandmother and being a journalist. Now, you said you were born in 87, so your grandmother grew up in a time then where, a journalist is almost like an entrepreneur, right? She's like a private contractor. So what was that like? What was her personality like? She had to be a strong-minded woman.
Yeah, so I do have a lot after her as well. And unfortunately, I've only seen her maybe like 5 times in my life.
Well, she's always traveling, so.
Traveling and such a busy woman. She was also a businesswoman. She had other businesses. And she was the alpha female, and she got married to my grandfather, who supported her on this journey. And so when she traveled abroad, and he would just sit there with the kids, helping her out. Like and that's even back then.
Wow.
He would just be like, I support you. Go do your thing. So I'm thinking to myself, why can't I find a man that will support me now? Why are they intimidated by this? So
That's
so
hard.
she's very strong-minded. Very, fast-paced. Whatever she took upon herself, it will turn to gold. That's her nature. She will make it better. She would always help out with any occasion. Back in Russia, we would have all occasions hosted at her house, right? So if she needs to host a party, or so say someone is born, or a birth of a child, or a bar mitzvah, or whatnot, it would all be at her house. She even raised us, She raised actually my older 2 siblings, mostly at her house. But when I was born already, she moved to Germany. We moved to Vienna. So we barely saw each other. I remember she came by once or twice. My mom left to Israel with my father, so she took care of us. And I remember my tooth was hurting me. And I'm like, oh my God, Grandma, my tooth is hurting. She's like, now, don't worry. Come lay on my lap. And she was like, listen, think about positive things and the pain will go away. So she was a very positive person, right? It would never be like this negative thing about her, like, oh, like, what can I do? Your mom is not here. How can I take care of you? Everything was just positive. So it was just so much at ease with her. And I wish I got more time with her. I really do. And unfortunately, she passed away at age 58.
Wow.
So, it's very unfortunate. But we carry her spirit, we celebrate her and her life.
I'd love to hear you speak a little Russian and say positive thoughts in Russian, that how your grandmother would say it.
Oh, все у нас будет нормально, все будет хорошо, думай позитивно, и скоро родители приедут.
That was so cool. Thank you so much. So where did you come to when you came to the States at 9? Where did you land?
So in Forest Hills.
Wow.
Yeah, Forest Hills, New York, which is, a lot of Russians back then. A lot. And so the Russians is a very broad term, right? We are called Boharian Jews, right? So the Boharian Jews, if you trace us back, we are actually, we came from the Persians, and we have a lot of Spanish in us. So we are the Jews that fled the Spanish Inquisition, and then we immigrated to different countries, and we landed in, God knows, people land in different parts, right? But we are the Jews, the Sephardic Jews, right? So the Jews are divided into Sephardim or Ashkenazi, right? The Sephardim have a lot of Spanish in us, a lot of Persian in us. So that's why when you look at me, I don't resemble the blue and the blonde, right? I'm considered like the black Jew or something. I'm the darker Jew, basically. And the Boharians were very small, very niche. And we are definitely thriving in our community. We're a very small population, but some of the Boharians that you probably know, Jacob the jeweler, who does all the jewelry for like celebrities, you would know him. So he's a Boharian Jew. There are not a lot of us, but we're definitely thriving.
That's very interesting, because you're right. In fact, when you were just speaking with George earlier, I thought you were speaking Spanish at first. So there's got to be some sort of also some accent in the Russian. Yeah. Because I was walking down the hallway, I started speaking to him in Spanish, and he goes, "No, I don't speak Spanish."
Right. So there is definitely, yes.
There's definitely, and you're right. You do resemble a lot more of Spanish traits. So that's very interesting. I'm glad you said that. So Forest Hills, that's where my sister lives. So I knew, I was like, I know that there's something there. And, most immigrants come to New York City, and Queens, me growing up in Queens, we learned that there's so many different cultures in Queens. It's like, it is just, a melting pot of different cultures. And I mean that in a positive way. So it's nice to hear kind of the breakdown too, because there's so many cultures, they kind of get grouped. As you just mentioned, of like the Spanish neighborhood or the Italian neighborhood or the Jewish neighborhood. And then it's just, to your point, the Jewish neighborhood. But then there's so many different segments within the Jewish neighborhood that most people are not aware of. And then there's different ways that you all interact and be able to help each other. What high school did you go to?
Forest Hills High School.
You went to Forest Hills. I went to Bayside.
Oh, I love that.
I went to Bayside High School. And then what college did you enroll in?
Yeah, Queens College.
You went to Queens College. So I went to Nassau Community College, and then I left there, went to Marist. My parents went to Queens College. Amazing. And my brother graduated Queens College, so a lot of similarities there. As we're in college now, so you have gone down the path that your parents have kind of set forth for you. Your mother is a professional in the medical industry. She's a gynecologist. Your father is a big-time entrepreneur and restaurateur, and now you're going to college. What were you going to study? What was the first experience like?
So my mother actually is a former gynecologist.
Okay.
And so here she decided to go and get her bachelor's in business management, and she went to LAU. And so she's very studious. Like, there's nothing entrepreneurial about her. Give her a book, she'll read it and she'll recite it, right? For me, I love to read, but for me, I'm more about like hands-on. I love to talk to people, like the relationship between a person. That's what I value most, right? Love the social connections. And when I told her, obviously, I want to pursue journalism, PR, and I was learning about that. I even, told her, I really will excel at that. She's like, look, I don't think you're going to find the right husband for yourself. Like now she's like, you need someone who's not going to be afraid to marry you and feel safe with you. You need to have a 9 to 5. Come home, just pick something, please. Just do something for your mom. The guilt trip, the Jewish guilt trip. Like, do something for your mom. I'm like, Mom, okay, fine. I'll choose speech pathology. It has to do with speech. Not knowing that it's such a tedious thing. Like, I was sitting in class from Queens College, right? So at that time, at 18, I meet my husband, right? And I met him at 17 and a half. So we're dating. And then at 18, I get married in September. So right after high school, I get married. And then I go to college.
And your parents were happy about this because they
were not happy about it. They're
okay.
like, you should not get married.
Oh, okay.
My father's like, do not get married. Get you a college education. I'm like, Dad, I really need to get out of the house. Like, I can't stay here any longer. Like, there are too many rules. And for me, I love freedom. You know, for me, like, I need to make my own rules. I need to have my own place, like where I make my own decisions. That's just my type of personality. Like, so the only way to do that is to find the right guy, right? To find the right man, which obviously there's love and whatever it is back then, lust, and get married and build a family together, because I raised my younger sister. So I wasn't afraid to take on that task, take on that task of starting a family. I knew what it entailed. And so I wasn't afraid of that. I was mentally ready. Mm-hmm. As long as he's supportive. I needed a husband who was supportive of my decisions, right? And so when I told him I'm going to do speech pathology, whatever, I went to college, was pursuing that. And then I was like, you know what, this is not for me. I'm going to change my profession. Obviously, he wasn't happy about that. And there were just so many obstacles.
And what was he studying?
He was doing computer programming at that time. And so, it was just, and then I already had my son. So I had my son like right away as well. So I gave birth when I was 19.
Wow.
And I decided to part ways with him. I'm like, look, we're having so many fights. It's not only mentally, emotionally draining. There were physical fights as well. So we need to part. This is not good for me. It's not a healthy situation we're in. You're not supportive of my journey. We need to either agree or disagree. We could agree or disagree, but it's not going to be black and white, right? So if I'm with a person who tells me it's just black and white, you're choking me. I can't be in that situation, right? You need to let me breathe. Like, you get married to a person not to tell them what to do. You get married to a person to grow with them, right? It's an evolution. I'm not going to be the same person at 18, at 7 years later. Everything changes. Yes, cells change every 7 years. So obviously, we have to evolve together. So I can't marry a best friend, which I thought I'm marrying a best friend. If I can't be with a best friend and you're choking me, and I knew my future is going to be huge, right? Even at 18, 19, I could already foresee it. I'm like, if I'm going to be with this man who's going to tell me what to do, and he's a great father, don't get me wrong. There are great things about him, which I'm not going to get too much about him, right? It's not about him.
No, it's about you.
It's about me. But the fact that I married someone that young, which was a great thing, because you can get divorced at any age. It doesn't matter the age. It's just that we didn't work out, right? But I'm so happy that I had my son out of this whole thing, because my son made me the woman that I am today. And I would always speak highly of his father. And we even did a bar mitzvah together. I'm like, Josh, we're going to have a bar mitzvah with your side of your father's side of the family and mine. We're going to have it together. So the most important thing here is, going with the flow. I think I kind of sidetracked from your question.
Oh, that's okay.
But I think that what I'm getting at is that going to college and then didn't like what I was doing. I then transferred into LIU. Okay? That's where I was actually taking this conversation. I decided to go to LIU, Long Island University in Brooklyn, and I was thinking to change majors there secretly. So my mom won't know about it. So I switched to communications. But then the divorce happened and so many things started happening. And I think she found out it wasn't going well. And LIU is so expensive. And so I was paying for my own college. Yes, my parents helped me. I had to work. There was a lot of things I was doing on my own. And so I decided, when I got divorced, 2 years later, to drop out of college. I was about 21. I dropped out, or 20, about that, 20 and a half. I mean, if I stayed, I would have probably had my BA, But I was 3 years in and had to pay all those loans. But, it is what it is. I feel like I've dropped out knowing that I'm taking the responsibility upon myself. This is what I want to do.
What's interesting is that you took courses that actually kind of played into what you do today, like speech pathology, although it's a lot more in depth and it's really getting into the way that people move their tongues and their lips and being able to help them with disabilities and things like that. It's still speaking. And it's still helping people find their voice, which is very similar to what you do today with PR and getting people camera ready and all the rest that goes into it. And the same with communications. You and I, we have such similar paths because I was an aspiring actor and I was afraid that my parents would not support that. They were both professionals. My father's a PA, my physician's assistant. My mother worked for the New York City Board of Ed as a teacher, administrator, and the rest, and soon retired from there. And so for me, I was like, I can't tell them I want to be an actor. I need to be a professional. So I'm going to take communications and be behind the camera. And so we use these mechanisms, we use these different things to mask what we really want, but they're kind of in line with what we continue to do. You spoke about the marriage, and it's almost like you lived a full life before even dropping out of like getting married, divorced, having a child, having a family, and all of this other stuff that happened there. Some thoughts that I had about your relationship with your mother is that she was trying to protect you, right? And this whole time. And it's interesting. I'm just interested in the backdrop to all of this, and that while she's trying to protect you and telling you to get a career so that you could find someone and marry someone. Here you are ready to marry someone. And I had made the assumption that they would have wanted that for you, but they didn't. Was it because you were too young, or he just wasn't what they felt was right for you? Or was there anything else involved in that whole thought process?
No, I mean, they just, wanted me not to travel as much. As a PR and journalist, you have to travel. You can't be with your family. So they obviously she was looking out for me.
So she was trying to support the decision by kind of telling you not to do.
Right. Like do something similar to that.
Right.
But don't travel.
Right.
Just like, because I guess she missed out on her mom. Maybe she was carrying this trauma. Maybe the fact that she didn't see her mom as often as she wanted, and she was always with her father. And she used to tell us, my father took care of us a lot. My mom was always traveling. Maybe she didn't want my kids to face that, to go through that trauma. Like, mom is not there.
Yeah, I mean,
you never know.
And that means so much, though, because as business leaders, as entrepreneurs, as executives, there are so many challenges that are in front of us that hold us back. Mental challenges I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the boss who doesn't give you the promotion or the loan that doesn't go through or anything like that. I'm talking about our own mental challenges. And what most don't realize, but those who do business coaching and have a coach and learn and read books on this and everything, what we learn is that we are products of our upbringing and of our parents. And that's why I'm kind of like digging into this a little bit, because you're bringing up so many flags of protection that we see people who love us and they want what's good for us and they want to protect us. And by protecting us, they limit us. But some of that protection comes in because of their own experiences. And you just hit it with your mother and the grandmother. And I wasn't putting that together. So there it is that's probably exactly what it is that she was trying to protect you from, is her own childhood. I experienced that with my father. My father just shared some stories with me that I thought were incredible about his childhood and his father trying to protect him and telling him, my grandfather was a blue collar worker. And telling my father, you can't be any more than a blue-collar worker. And my father's saying, no, I want to be more than that. Long story short there. But that trickles down to me of when I want to go out and do something different and them trying to say, no, stay in your job, you're protected. So there's that security. So now you have this child and you've decided to drop out and start a career. We said you bootstrapped. So this means that you found your own way to be able to start a business. And you started it with $5,000 in your pocket. And I'm so happy that there was an extra 3 zeros after the 5, because so many people say, I started with $5 in my pocket. And you're like, come on, really? You started with more than $5. All right, fair enough. I have had entrepreneurs on here who have started with less than $5,000 and is totally truthful. But you started with $5,000. So one, the interest is, where did the $5,000 come from? And then 2, how did you turn it into what it is today?
Absolutely. So I was a stylist for many years, right? So when I dropped out of college, I didn't know what to do with myself. And then my dad is like, look, you have a natural gift for styling. Why don't you go and do hair? Start doing hair. So I gave it a shot. I got my cosmetology degree and I started doing hair. I did hair for about 7 years. And I'm talking about hair at high top tier salons in the city. Warren Tricomi at the Plaza Hotel, the Peninsula Hotel. I worked at top places. And so I did that for as long as I can remember. And it was more of I was a colorist. I loved it. And it came so natural to me, right? And I feel like I outgrew that. What else is there for me? Okay, I can buy a salon. That's great. My father even, told me, look, I'll buy a salon for you. But then I'm like, Dad, I'll be a slave to my own business. I see so many businesses, so many people working from anywhere in the world. Why can't I have that? I said to myself, like, Dad, it's okay. Keep your money. Thank you. Spare that. I'm going to find a way. And so when I said to myself, enough with the hair, let's grow out of that, I started styling people. So when I was working for these salons and hotels, I started reaching out to these hotels because now I have a concierge company, right? I was freelancing with my concierge company. It wasn't really set in stone. I have a concierge company, but I was a freelancer. I'm like, look, I can come and style your clients. And they're like, yes, we need one. So I used to work at Bergdorf Goodman for a couple of years as a stylist, as a freelancer. And then I said, okay, well, I have a lot of hotels around Bergdorf Goodman on Fifth Avenue. Let me reach out to them. Why can't I make that extra, right, per hour? And they used to pay me $300 an hour. These hotels just to style. Now, obviously, we get 20% to the concierge for referrals. But if I would take a client for 5 hours a day and shop with them, that's amazing, I did that again for a couple of years. I would say for a good 5-6 years.
What a dream job for a young woman in New York City, right?
I loved it. I loved it. It was amazing.
Good to go shopping with them. And
I had that, style to me ever since I was a little child.
You have a lot of style to you.
Thank you. It's innate. I have that after my father. I would go shopping with him when I was younger, and he would just trust me. He's like, buy whatever you want. So when you trust a child and you let them be, you see their creativity. It comes out. So I carry that on, confidence in me because he instilled that confidence. I used to pick out his clothes for him. He used to tell me, so what tie goes with this shirt? That confidence from a little tie this confidence would just go into other things, right? It would just seep through other things in life. Because my father trusted me with his style, I know I'm capable of doing other things because I have that confidence. And so it's important to instill in your child confidence. And then whatever they want to do with that confidence, practice it. That's what happens, right? And so from that styling, I, obviously had my money, And then we had a restaurant. The restaurant, my father opened up with my brother, Zavo restaurant on the Upper East Side. We had that before the pandemic. It was a great run for 5 years. And then, after my styling days were over and I opened up my concierge company, the restaurant was my first client. Basically, that's who I did PR for. But how did I get my $5,000? From styling, right? And that's what I did. I mean, a lot of the money because I was invited to so many shows, Fashion Week in Paris, Milan. I would travel, London. I would travel everywhere. Obviously, it would come out of pocket, right? And so whatever was left of it, I said, enough is enough. I've traveled enough. Let me make something that's going to leave a legacy. I don't want to be just another number. I don't want to just style someone. Yes, it's nice for time being, right? They feel great. It's an instant gratification. They look amazing. But then what?
Right.
What happens after that? How can I help people's voices, amplify people's voices? Because I had no voice growing up, because I come from a very conservative family where, you speak when you're spoken to. You can't really express yourself as too much. Like, yeah, you can say how you feel, but you're a woman at the end of the day. And a lady has to be a lady. You need to know your place. And that's how it was. That's how it was in my family. Like, yes, we can speak, but you can't you can't debate a topic. Listen, at the end of the day, you're a lady, and just let the man make the decision, right? So that was the notion I was raised with, and
the culture around you.
Yeah.
That's a
Right.
very male dominated culture that
Exactly.
you were raised in.
Exactly.
I mean, I've witnessed it as well growing up in the same neighborhoods as you, and seeing a lot of this happen, and especially in other countries, and coming here. The women's movement in the States happened much earlier than it has in other countries. And so when you have immigrants coming from other countries here in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, that culture still carries over, and the men sit around the table, as you're saying, and I've seen it. The men are sitting around the table and the women come and they want to say something. They could put their 2 cents in, but they're walking away very quickly. And you do a lot to change that today. We're kind of skipping over some of your journey right now, but we're going to go right back to it. But while we're on the topic, you do a lot to empower women today. You speak at orphanages, you travel around the globe to other countries, and I'd like you to kind of expand on that in some of the work that you do to raise awareness to the voice and the power of a woman.
Absolutely. Growing up, I wish I had that mentor, or I wish my mom was more involved, of helping me get my idea across, or, I feel like I didn't have that female support, because she was so invested also, and I can't blame her in her own journey, And so having that woman supporting you, it's so significant. It plays such a significant role, right? And so that's what I decided to become for others. I wanted to amplify your voice. I want to elevate your voice and make you an authority, help you become an authority, right? Because I didn't have that authoritative voice growing up, I couldn't wait to break out and say, you know what? How can I become an authority? And the only way you become an authority is to become vulnerable with your story. You share your story. You are very authentic with your story. Don't be afraid to be judged. It is what it is, because, hey, if you're not going to tell your story, you're not going to help the other person who's going through the same thing. There were so many times I listened to, one of the first people I listened to was Maria Forleo. Marie Forleo was one of the people that actually, I used to listen to her in my car while driving to one of my, appointments, styling. And I remember her story of how she started as a dancer, and how, she had so many professions and she was doing so many things. And then she became the woman that she is today. So she wasn't afraid to say that, hey, she was that person, but now she is educating others. She has her own channel. What I'm trying to say, women like that, by listening to Oprah's Sundays podcasts. I mean, the Soul Sunday. Are you kidding me? The Soul Sunday got me to the core of I want to know the spirituality of a person. I'm so spiritual that I healed myself from alopecia. I had an autoimmune disease. So, to your point,
wow.
I decided to help women because I didn't have that help growing up to the extent that I wanted to. I didn't have that mentor to hold my hand. But then I did hire mentors, obviously, right? You have mentors for different things. You have coaches that keep you accountable. And so getting into this space, what happened was one day I was styling my client and her daughter runs in and says, Mom, I really want to pursue this. She was 17, 18 years old. She's like, no, I told you got to go to college for this. And it's just like a flashback to, oh my God, I'm like, that's exactly what I went through in my life, right? I told you this is exactly what I'm be supporting you. You're going to college for this, and I don't care about anything else. And she looked at me so helpless with her face. And I was just styling her mom, right? Obviously, I couldn't say much to her, but my facial expression, she saw that I wish I said something, but I didn't want to lose my client. I would have said to her, look, let your daughter be herself. Let her shine in her own way. She'll come around. Let her make mistakes. But it wasn't my place. So I had to hold back. And I made I promised to myself, I have to change what I'm doing, because that girl, showed me exactly what I'm supposed to do, help them amplify their voice. So the first place I started helping was getting into orphanages. I reached out to an orphanage. I'm like, look, I would really like to just help your girls find their passion, help them with their confidence. I just want to speak to them. And they were like, wow, please, yes, we would love to. We would love to have someone like you. Got into one orphanage, got into another orphanage, became a spokesperson, and now I'm with them virtually on Zoom every week. I mean, these girls are looking forward just to hear me, to empower them, their voices, and that to me is greater than anything. The inspiration that I get, like the fact that I'm inspiring so many people that are looking up to me, that I wish I had, I'm passing on to others. Besides the fact that, I do PR and then I'm amplifying people's voices in the press, right? I'm a Forbes contributor. But what I'm doing for this younger generation, and I'm pulling them, helping them. I mean, I think that's a leader. That's what a leader is about, when you can help them and instill that confidence in them.
That's incredible. That is incredible. And I'm glad that you brought up the story of the 17-year-old girl coming in and asking her mother. That was such a pivotal moment for you.
Yes.
Of realizing that that was not in your integrity to just stand there and look at her and not help her. What you needed to do was to leave that and to do what you're doing today.
Right.
What an amazing moment for you. So you going back now to your PR days now, what I got from a lot that you shared there is that you were a hustler. You were relentless. It sounds like what you're saying is like you're calling different hotels. You're saying, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? You're calling people. I mean, even with the orphanage, you're just reaching out. You're not asking for permission. You're taking charge. And that is so important as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, as an executive, as anything that you do in life. You have to take charge. You have to be ambitious. And that's what you are at the time, and still today, of course. But you were building this network of people and of supporters. I'm interested in that because so many people, when they're starting a business, they're hung up on the little things of, and not that there's a little thing, but of a business plan and all that. But they don't realize the connections and how important they are. And the traveling that you did and the places that you ended up in, I would think that you made some serious connections, and you certainly know how to keep a relationship with somebody. And I'm interested in a story there, or maybe a relationship there.
Oh, you'll hear a story for sure. So when I traveled to Paris with my client, actually, she owned a skincare company here in the States, and she wanted me to come with her to Paris, help her with shopping there and style her for events, mostly charity events. And we've been working for months now. And, she's telling me about her company. And I'm like, that's great, And she's like, I see you as a visionary. I'm like, yeah, obviously I style you. I am a visionary. She's like, no, but bigger than that. I'm like, what do you have in mind? She's like, why don't you become a visionary for my company? I'm like, you mean your skincare company? She says, yes, I want you to consult for my company. I'll introduce you to my PR company, and you guys work things out together. I mean, that in itself was like, wait, what? Like, I mean, I've always wanted to be in PR. Before she even told me this, I actually applied. I applied to some of the PR companies just to intern, just to learn the ropes. None of them wanted to take me.
Right.
Guess why? Do you have a college degree? No, I'm a college dropout. Okay. Do you have any experience? No. But I promise you I'll do whatever you need. Like, right. I am a go-getter. No, we need someone at least with some sort of communications. Nobody cares about your personality. Nobody cares about your drive. And that should change. How I hire people is totally different. I don't care about what school you graduated from. I have resumes. Oh, I am graduating from so-and-so. I'm like, great. I don't even care about that. I'm actually not even hire you because you graduated. I want someone who is hungry and not entitled. If you are entitled because you graduated from a college and you want me to pay you because you graduated from there, but you have no experience and no drive and no entrepreneurial spirit about you, right? Then obviously you're not for me. During the pandemic, I had a pandemic relief program where I said I'm going to hire 200 freelancers, women. I don't care if you have a college degree, as long as you have a drive and your personality is positive and you're going to bring value to my company. And I did. I hired 200 freelancers. I gave jobs to 200 women. And they did different things. They wrote blog posts for me. They either reached tips, affiliate programming. You got to be creative as an entrepreneur. And so that's what, to become an entrepreneur, you need someone to believe in you, right? And so I had this woman believed in me. Mind you, I was running my own freelance company, right? I had this concierge company that I had 10 girls working for me. But she saw something in me that I saw in a long time in myself, but no one else saw in me. No one believed in me as much as she believed in me. Her name is Mirella Matan. If you're listening, that's you. I am grateful that you have introduced me to your PR company, because if it wouldn't be for you, Mirella, I wouldn't be where I am today. Maybe it would have taken me a little longer. I would probably still end up doing the thing that I love, which is PR, but she got me here much faster.
Wow.
So it takes a person, right? It takes a woman. She lifted me up, right? And so what happened was, I was styling this woman. The girl came in at 17 years old. She did that, right? She told her mom, I can't believe you're not supporting me. And then she tells me, Mirella tells me, why don't you become a visionary consultant for my company? And I'm like, okay, this is exactly where I need to be. The universe is just showing me these are the signs. That if you can't catch on to the signs that the universe is throwing at you, because there are signs every day, little signs. You just have to be aware what these signs are. And you have to grab onto them. It's just like opportunity. You have to run with it and say yes, not be a people pleaser, but yes, this is going to be something that will open up your future to a whole different world. But remember, there are responsibilities, obviously, that come with it, right? Much more responsibilities. But I am so fulfilled. I love what I do. And, I'm truly doing what I love every day. And yeah, so, Mirella, she introduced me to a company where I had an understanding with them, an agreement with them. They knew I had no background in PR, but they knew I had leverage. And my leverage was, I had a restaurant already, just built Zavo, my family's restaurant. And I told them, look, I have a lot of clients I can send your way. You do, and you can take my family's restaurant as your first client. But I need to learn all the ropes. I need to know the game. I got to be in the game. And I'll send you more clients. That was the ultimatum on my end, and they agreed. And so they let me be in the company. I learned the ropes. I fostered a relationship with journalists. I learned a lot. And so, the time has come. They served what they had to do for 6 months. They were the restaurant. And then I said, you know what? I can do the same thing. I have what it takes. Obviously, you hire people who are smarter than you. So I hired people who are smarter than me, not necessarily having a college degree, but be, in the space in media. So I learned from them. And yeah, the rest is history, and
I mean, it's just incredible because you speak to so many different things. I love the idea of leverage. We forget how much leverage we have. We really do. And it's so important to use the leverage that you have. Every one of us have leverage. Everybody that's out there has leverage. They have some sort of leverage. They have to realize what it is and use it to your advantage in an authentic way. I mean, your father has a restaurant and you're able to say to your dad, hey, listen, can you be my first client, right? And then you go back to the PR company and say, hey, listen, I got your first client for you, but you got to do this for me. You have to be able to negotiate your way, and that's what you did. I also love the idea of the way that you hire. I just did for my company, Den10, I just did a job fair. And I had applicants come up to me and they're handing me their resume. And I even said to them, I said, you don't even need to hand me your resume. You could always email it to me. And they said, well, I printed it out. Can I hand it to you? I said, sure. But because just like you, I'm not looking for the person who has experience in the insurance business or experience in sales or whatever it is, right? Or college degree. I'm looking for the person that comes to me and says, hey, I see your table here. I see your booth. I'm willing to work every event. I'm willing to bring in the most leads as possible. Tell me how to get licensed. I'm willing to get licensed. That has that ambition and that drive. And what you just said there, that's exactly what we mean. That's what we're looking for. And I think that is what gets lost in school, is that school teaches these kids, and I feel bad for them because that entitlement that you're speaking about is kind of like taught to them in school. I mean, you experience college too, and it's kind of taught to us of like, do this, and that, and when you graduate with your degree, you'll be able to get this job. Do this, and that, and you'll get an internship, and then you'll get a job from that internship. But that's not the way business or life is, because you and I can have an intern come in from a prestigious college, but if they have no ambition or drive, they're not going to go much further with us, because we need to trust them, is what you're saying too, right? We need to say to them, I'm going to leave you with this phone and this pad or this email or this computer. And I need to know that I'm going to walk away for an hour and that you're just going to do what you need to do because you're ambitious, not because I told you what to do, but because you want to do it. And that's speaks so much to your personality. Nobody told you to do any of the stuff that you did. I mean, they said they tried to tell you what to do, but you weren't listening. You weren't having it. I also love the shout out that you gave to your mentor and sharing that with our audience of who she is and the power that she was able to share with you, and that's what you do today in empowering others and giving them opportunity. I'm interested in your legacy now. You've spoken so much about your legacy. You've spoken so much about being a visionary, and that is so important to hold that vision as an entrepreneur. And so I'm interested in the legacy that you choose to leave behind and how you go and set forth with it today.
Yeah, I want to have my own Netflix show. I definitely
Your own Netflix show?
I would love to.
Oh my goodness, I'm in on it. We'll talk after.
I would love to have you as my first guest, perhaps.
Love it.
That's the legacy I want to leave behind. I want to be, as a major talk host. I think I bring so much value, and so many younger women look up to me because I'm not afraid to say it how it is, because I don't sugarcoat it, And so the legacy that I want to leave behind is for the younger generation to know that it's okay, first of all, you need to share your progress more than your goals, right? This way you stay motivated more. You need to know how to say no. Like, don't be a people pleaser. When you say no, you respect your time, and you respect you gain respect for who you are, right? Smile often. Smile as often as you can, because you want to show others that you exist in a world of optimism and positivity, because you do. You want to share your experiences. Run after more experiences than material things, right? That is your definition of success. That's where you will learn what it is, but not buying the next Louis bag, which is great, or next pair of shoes. Invest that money. I always tell my son, invest that money into your future, back into your business. I mean, he has his own business now, my son,
Wow. What's his business? Shout out to his business.
Yeah, Go Tech Doc. Go Tech Doc. Josh has a cell phone repair shop and a standing store. Like, he has an actual store where he repairs phones. He sells cell phones. He is so hands-on. I remember he came up to me at 10 years old, like, Mom, I need a couple of dollars. I'm like, Josh, I'm a single mom. I'll give you $1 here. I'll give you $1 there. But this is not going to be a routine here, You're going to find a way to do something on your own here. Well, what do you mean, Mom? I'm only 10. I'm turning 11. I'm like, well, look, you go to a karate place here. I support, I make sure you're active. I make sure that you engage with your friends. But what you make of it, you got to be creative. Find things around your karate place. Maybe you have something you like. I'm going to sell candy, he tells me. I'm like, selling candy? That's great, but that's not going to be your future. It's good to sell, because if you know how to flip, if you buy candy for $1 and you sell something for $1.50, you made that 50 cents. Great. But is that going to be your future, Josh? No. So he tells me, he comes up to me, he's like, Mom, you know what I want to do? I actually have a store next to the karate place, and it's a cell phone store. I go in there every time I wait for you. By the time you get to me, that half an hour, and I watch what they do. They repair, they sell, and I love the whole tech world. I'm like, great. That's exactly where I guess you should grow and find yourself. And every day, 3 times a week when he would go to karate, he would just look that up and kind of like find himself and learn more. And then he would ask the guy, the owner, like, can I intern for you? I always tell him, don't ask for money, ever. If anything, you have to pay money to them because you're learning from them. Don't ask for anything. You're just learning. You're standing there and you're going to learn from him. And I remember he tells me, he says, Mom, the guy tells me, why are you coming to me? Is there a motive? Like, how, are you good? Like, are you a good guy? Who knows, right? Why this young kid is coming in.
Right.
Anything can happen. Maybe he'll like, who knows, right? Whatever. He's like, I'm really an honest guy. Like, I really want to learn. He says, fine. So he built trust, right? It's all about building trust. And then he'll let him come behind the counter. And then he tells me, like, when he's like 12 years old, Mom, I'm ready to open up my own store. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not ready yet. I'm like, I'm not even mentally ready for that. He's like, I got to work for myself. I want to be an entrepreneur like you. So the fact that my son can look up to me, the fact that I wasn't afraid for him to, learn something new and take risks, I think that in itself, I'm already, instilling in him like what it is not to be afraid to take the next step into making failures, take the risk, fall, get up, and repeat. Fall, get up, repeat. It's okay if you fall face down. And so he's running his own business now. He's 16-year-old, a young entrepreneur, and I'm really, really happy for him. He is busy. He has a goal. He has a mission. He makes his clients happy. I even tell him sometimes, charge him a little more. Mom, I got to make them happy. Can't overcharge them. Like, inflation is really bad right now. You got to charge him a little higher. Because you got to, I motivate him. I mentor him. I am his mentor. And that's what I love to do. I feel like my mission, my goal in this life is to inspire and to elevate and to amplify other people's voices, like to help you.
Right.
That's
and it's so cool that you're already doing it at home with your child, with Josh, and you do it with all those girls in the orphanages and
high school as well, and college as well. I went back to my college, went to Queens College actually. I went back to Queens College.
Oh my goodness, tell us.
Oh my God. I said, look, I'm a Forbes contributor now. I have my own PR agency.
I love this.
I would like to just, talk to your freshmen on how to, and I came with my book actually. This happened last year.
Name of your book?
Be Epic, Be Seen and Be Heard. It's an acronym. It's a one-word acronym, Be Epic, and each letter stands for something. And so, B is to believe that you have a belief that you can turn into a reality. E is for empowerment, right? Become empowered with your own story. P is for personal satisfaction. If you're not personally satisfied with who you are, you can't embrace your own voice. It's all about your voice, right? I is about your inner core. Your inner core, if you really tune in into who you are, your inner voice comes from your inner core. And C is the courage, right? Have that courage to step out of your comfort zone. How do you share your story? Don't be afraid to share your story. And that's what I teach the girls, and Queens College, where I went back to. I haven't gone back to LIU, which I have to, but they were blown away. I didn't say that I dropped out of college here. I did tell them I dropped out of college from LIU. I just said I transferred from Queens College, right?
Sure.
So it was a very, I would say it was more of like the aha moment when I went back to Queens College, where I was breast pumping in Hillel. I don't know if you know Hillel. Hillel is a Jewish organization.
Okay.
I used to breast pump over there because I used to.
When you were 18, or 19, when you're just
son. I had to breast pump, so I would run into the Hillel, breast pump. I'm like, guys, turn away, because they would pray there. It's like,
And then you would go to class.
Go back to class. You have no idea.
My
I even
goodness.
had to hustle with my own.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
you're just unstoppable.
I gotta be
unflappable.
Unflappable. There you
Unflappable.
go. Unshakable.
My business coach Merritt just posted that word. She said unflappable. She said, I wish I could use that word. Here we are, Merritt. We just use unflappable.
I love it. I love that. And that's exactly what it is. You got to be unshakable, right? Make sure you're unshakable so people can't shake you up.
That is incredible. And an author of your book. I hope to receive a copy.
Yes, I have it with me.
Oh,
I have it with me. I have to sign a copy copy. I came prepared.
So you're actually living in your legacy between your son, the girls, everything that you're doing. You're living into that legacy. And what I'm getting from you, and that I hope that our listeners are getting too, is that it's about something bigger than yourself. And your vision, your mission, your spirit, your entrepreneurial spirit, and everything that you do is because it's bigger than you. It's who can I help? Who can I serve? And when you work in that capacity, you are unflappable. You are unstoppable and unshakable. Which, you know, I kind of think about with the work that you're doing with these girls. And we were just talking before we came on the air about you traveling to do this. So you also do this work in person, and you travel abroad, and you do big conferences to speak to them. Could you share a little bit about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to mentoring, right, I do that virtually. But when it comes to keynote, I just did a keynote, which was major at the Javits Center.
Wow.
I was invited by the White Label Expo, and they invited me to represent Forbes, and I gave a whole thing, you know, a whole keynote on exactly similar to what I spoke to right now.
Mm-hmm.
My story, how PR plays a significance in small businesses, or what it can do for others. And now they're inviting me to London, right, to speak in London. So it's like taking that opportunity, and they didn't pay me anything for this. They didn't. But do I care? No, because I am in my element. You know, I'm serving others. And so, see, one thing leads to another. If you're not running after money and you're not chasing that paper, then you will be chased, right? Because you bring so much value. And I know that it's going to come back tenfold, because I'm there really serving others. I'm there because I love what I do. And, you know, yeah, it's nice to be recognized, but the money aspect is not important for me.
I think that's so cool. And it's also like what you taught your son in that, you know, be an intern, go learn.
Right.
And what I learned from what you're saying there, and what, in my experience too with this podcast, right? I don't get paid to do this, but this is a passion. But what you end up doing is you make really strong connections with people that you may not have met prior, because you're serving. Like, to me, I feel like I'm serving our audience, right? I am an audience member in that I want to learn from every person I interview. And so I feel like I'm serving them, I'm serving myself. But when you do that, it's to your point, the more opportunities open up. And the important piece, like, people ask me all the time in business, they go, oh, how's the podcast working out? We want to start one. And I always tell them, what's the purpose of the podcast? Is it because you want to make more money? Is it because you want to get more referrals? Because if those are the reasons why you're starting, then don't. Because that's not what it'll bring to you. It's not what it's for. That may come from it. You may get a sponsorship. You may get referrals from it, but that can't be your purpose. It might open the door and create the opportunities for that, just like your speaking engagements and everything else. It'll open the door and create opportunity, but that can't be your purpose, because people will know that.
Right.
It's obvious, no matter how much you try to hide it. Right?
So the thing is, and I want to mention that I think it's very important to mention that I have my own podcast, What Makes a Woman.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
And I started that podcast from the restaurant on the Upper East Side.
I was going to ask you that
I would
too, by the way.
have all my clients, all my guests come on the show, celebrities. And I would, you know, I'm talking about people that, you know, really play a major role in what they do and how they bring value to others. And when that happened, let me be honest with you. I didn't even know how to use Zoom. I swear. I didn't even know.
Many of us didn't, so don't
how
worry.
to use Zoom. You know, and then when COVID hit, I had to learn how to use Zoom. I had to pivot completely. My company, I took it virtually. And it was a blessing in disguise. But that podcast, why I started it, was because I wanted to learn from the Titans how they started. What are the tips and tricks? Yes, I had my mentors. But I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, and I wanted to help my audience grow there, right? Provide that educational platform. And so it was phenomenal, right? I kind of stopped right now with the podcast. I mean, I do, you know, interview here and there, but I got just so busy with my clients. I need to get back to that. But when that was happening, though, it was amazing. I mean, people would gravitate towards me. I got my book endorsed by Darren Prince, who is a best-selling author. And I reached out to him during COVID, he has a blue tick. He's super. When you reach out to people who have blue ticks, you feel a little intimidated. Like,
Sure.
will they even look at me?
Right.
Will they even give me a day of time? But I look at him as just another human.
Yes.
At
the end of the day,
we are the same. Yes, you are recognized a little more than I am, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to get there.
Right. For now.
Right. Exactly. So when I reached out to him and I'm like, look, this is my mission, my podcast. I am here to inspire next generation. Your story will definitely be that inspiration. May I please have you as a guest? Yes. Like, no questions asked. Send me whatever it is, and guess what? His clients is Sylvester Stallone. Like, this guy,
Right.
big time. And then he endorsed my book. Like, I was just like mind blowing, right?
Incredible.
What one hello can do for you,
Right.
without even thinking, am I good enough? Without self-sabotaging, without even thinking twice. Don't ever do that. And what I learned is, why not me? Why not me? Like, people started off, this whole world was just started off because they were courageous enough, right? If you read the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill taught me so much. I mean, that's the reason why I started my podcast, because he interviewed 500 men. I said, okay, well, if he interviewed 500 men, I'm going to interview women and men.
Right.
And it started from women because he inspired me. I read that book and I'm like, with my son, I'm like, I have to do this for myself. And I had zero connections in the media world. I was just building.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I started this podcast, actually, when people ask me about that, like, what gave you the idea? And
Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes, because
Look at that.
and it's like I said, I'm a student to my guest, right?
I love it.
And that's what Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow
Yes.
Rich, is that Andrew Carnegie.
Andrew Carnegie.
I always confuse the two.
Yeah.
Andrew Carnegie said, hey, listen, if you want to go learn from all these men. You're right.
You're going to just tag along. And he tagged along. He
That's
was
it.
like 17 years old.
Yep.
And I believe he was like, 15 years older than him or something? He was like 30 something.
Well, yeah, but he interviewed all of these that's why I have titans of industry.
Right.
That's why I have that in my opening,
Right.
is because that's what he interviewed.
Right.
And that's what I feel like I'm interviewing. And that's who I feel like I'm learning from. Like, I sit here, I listen to your story, and I'm learning from it. And that's why
I'm not sure if I'm a titan yet.
You
there's
are.
so much more to go.
Listen, you don't come in here with that hat. Name that style of hat, because I don't know the name of it.
To be honest with you,
It's like a round brim.
I just call the cowboy hat.
Round brim, beautiful cowboy hat. There is no way you're not a titan being able to rock that hat, and with the confidence and beauty that you have.
Thank you.
So it is wonderful. As we conclude, I just want to touch on what you do and the work that you do, because you've been speaking about amplifying people's voices, and you do that at such a high level. Like, we're talking about Forbes magazine. You're a Forbes contributor. That is a tremendous amount of credibility. Forbes magazine is not just something that people just pick off the newsstand. This is an important magazine that speaks about business, that speaks about people in business, that has tips in business. I mean, I remember reading those columns in there. Yeah. There's so many strategies and tips and things that you could learn from the different contributors. So you do that, and then to be on broadcast television and to be on news spots like the morning shows and the different things. This doesn't happen by accident. You work hard to be able to do this. So I'm very interested in what you do at ZavoMedia in terms of that, and how you're able to get on that level.
It's all about strategic partnerships, to be honest with you. I don't look at others as competitors. We're all collaborating. And so I work with a lot of professionals who help me as well elevate my clients' voices, right? So it's not all me. I'm not doing this all by myself. But becoming a Forbes thought leader and Forbes columnist, yes, I have my own column, and you can read about it. Once a month, you'll read a new topic on what I am writing about. It's a different topic every month. And so what I do for my clients is I help them, first of all, teach them how to speak in sound bites, right? You need to learn how to speak in sound bites so that you can go on Good Morning America, and so speak to them in 4 minutes and get your point across. So I can teach that. And then I also have my media trainer, the anchor that works with me. We teach that as well. What really is amazing about my PR company is that even though we went global, we hold your hand. Literally, like holding your hand and feeling like it's boutique, even though it's global. You'll have a person Most of the time it's me. I mean, I have my obviously 150 people working for me now, but the fact that they're working for me and a lot of them are freelancers, because we are so connected, because I don't treat my employees as just employees, they are shareholders as well in my company. My clients get the most of it. I can spend, I tell you, look, this is your retainer, this is how much you pay per month, but I'll give you more. I over deliver. The most important thing that why they come back to me and why it's referral, why they refer me to others, because they know Liana over delivers. Yeah, you pay that much, but it's so worth it. You'll get so much out of it. And the fact that she will spend another half an hour on the phone with you, or even give you that extra editorial or press without you even knowing, like a bonus, that makes you smile. That's what it's all about, right? Obviously, we're in it. We're here to make money, right? Obviously, when it comes to my PR company, I have to feed my 150 people that work for me. But we're also here to make you smile, because you're like, wow, I didn't think that, you can do that for me. I thought that, we ended our relationship. Like, no, there's actually a little more, because you were so amazing to us, and that's what we do for you. So yeah, featuring in top tier publications, getting you into different niches. And now I represent the corporate space, right? I don't do lifestyle, even though I come from a lifestyle background and fashion. I don't have any fashion or lifestyle background clients. I represent the face behind the brand on the corporate level. So, writing your story, how you got, so a lot of my clients are from the legal, attorneys, wealth management, corporate, I would say more of like doctors, a lot of fintech. Fintech is going nuts right now. So, neobanks, the fintech aspect actually is where our bread and butter is right now. And it's going amazing. I also dove into NFT space. And so, it's new. I was interviewed by BBC News from UK. That was a highlight of my career as well, when they reached out to me like, listen, we want to interview you about how you're giving voices to women in the NFT space, right?
Wow.
16% of women are representing the NFT space. It's a boys club. It's a VC club, right? So a lot of men have a lot of like the upper hand there. So my goal is also to amplify women's voices in there. I work with World of Women, which is the leading NFT platform for women as well. I represented that. So, there's a lot that I do, but now my company is divided. I would say the fintech and the corporate were the face behind the brand.
That's so cool. And it's still going with your mission of helping women and empowering them and helping them find their voice.
Yes.
I love that. I love how you put that all together. You're so good at being able to paint that whole picture for us. And I guess as you should be, considering you're a PR firm, right?
I try.
As we wrap, I'm looking at your mantra, and I'm going to read it, and I just am interested in how it resonates with you and how you live your life by it. So you wrote, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Albert Einstein.
Oh, yes. I love that. Love that. So I learned from my divorce, a person who you thought you marry or who you think you're surrounded with will not make you happy. The people or things around you won't make you happy. If you're tied to a goal, that goal, no one can rob that, from you or take that away from you. So create a goal. Stick to it. And that always had made me happy, because I know that I am striving to make that goal happen, and I'll do anything to go after that, because if I put my mind to something, it's like go big or go home. I gotta make that happen. So yeah, if you think that significant other can make you happy in the long run, no, make yourself happy. Find that goal, and I think it's a healthy and happy relationship with anything, even with friends around you. Friends are here one day, next day they're not. Who knows? But if you have a mission and you have a goal, you'll always feel fulfilled. That's how I feel.
It's your North Star. And another quote that I heard that kind of ties this together is change your plan, but never your goal. Set that goal, like you're saying, set it high, set it unattainable. And because the plans in between can change and adapt, and whether you're married or not married, or go to school or don't go to school, or start your business or don't start your business, all of that can change, and you can adapt to it, and your plans can change. But that goal, And that mission, always strive to get there.
And it drives me. It's my driving force. Behind everything that I do, I'm like, I need to attain that.
That's fantastic. Any websites, handles, emails that you'd like to share with our audience?
Absolutely. You can definitely connect with me at official Lady Zavo TV on Instagram. You can visit ZavoMedia.com. You can read about me on Forbes.com as well. And you can also visit our Instagram website, company website, ZavoMedia PR. And any other questions, you can always reach out to my team, hello@ZavoMedia.com. We'll answer any questions. We're hiring, always hiring. We love a great personality, an ambitious person. Please reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And all of that, of course, will be in the show notes. I want to thank you so much for coming,
Thank you
Liana.
so much.
And speaking about over-delivering, your photographer here, George, thank you so much for coming as well. Really, really cool. Made this really feel special between us. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito Inc.